Hello, my name's Stuart. Welcome back to Heresy. And I note that I haven't done a painting video for a while. So I'm super excited for this project actually. We are going to get started on Kratos or the Kratos. If you've been following along, you'll note that I've already done the airbrush work. That was Christmas. We're now in September, so that tells you how long it takes me to get some projects. And that everything's magnetised. So the turret, the top of the turret, the little bit on top, the sponsons come off, the guns come off, etc. We've already painted some of the sponsons. We did it at the same time as the Predators. So that's 1 and 2 sponsons there. I've also painted the Volkite main weapon while I was at it, just because I was doing some other Volkites, and I figured why not? It just saves me a bit of time. We've got a few other weapons options there. I have invested in a new lamp, and there it is. It's from Wayland Games, and I have to say, I think it's the Lumi. I have to say it is beautiful. What a difference it makes to the little rubbishy sort of stand-up lamp thing I was using. So that's very, very nice. Right, let's get down to business. So I'm going to run through the steps of my painting job. Tanks are pretty straightforward actually. I really enjoy them. So we're going to start by putting the accent colour on this tank, and I've been using a dark grey for most of the time. So we're going to start with dark grey from Vallejo, and we're going to paint the accent areas. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to paint this dark grey, this bit here dark grey, this bit here dark grey. We're going to give it a dust first because it's been in the loft. Wow. We're going to paint this bit dark grey. I think I'm going to paint this little bit here dark grey as well around the hatch. Not sure about the hatch itself. Yeah, I think I'll paint the hatch and the area around it and the light dark grey there as a little patch. Maybe these little bits here. And then on the turret, I'm going to paint under this line, this sort of jagged line here, dark grey. So that's going to be task 1. Dark grey from Vallejo, fill in the accent. Right, that's the grey done. And we have, hang on, that's better. We've painted the bits here on the side, and I think it just adds quite a nice bit of interest to it. I've done the grey up here, filled in little bits at the top, did the back box and the smoke turret things, smokestacks. There we go, we've added the grey. So, next step. Mid-grey or neutral grey from Vallejo. I know you can just mix these greys yourself using blacks and whites and blues or whatever, but I like having them ready to go so I'm not messing around. What we're going to do now is we're going to do a thick highlight on the grey areas. Let me see if I've got one handy. Here's one of my Predators, just to give you an example. And we're going to do a thick edge highlight on all the grey areas. So that's step 2. Let's go. Done. That's the thick sort of grey. Let me move this light over a little bit. There's the thick sort of mid-grey highlight done. You can see on the grey there here. And we've done the edge here. The front part here, you can see that. That's looking nice. I did the bits at the back. Tried to be as careful as I can, but yeah, it's a little bit messy in places, but that's okay. The other way of doing this, of course, is to tape off the blue areas and use the airbrush to give you an idea of what that would look like. Here is my Baneblade that I was painting before 3.0 came out, and now you can't have Legion Baneblades, but I'm painting it in Ultramarine colours anyway because I don't care. So you can see that this has been done with an airbrush, and this I won't be doing a thick border on. I'll just be going straight to the edge highlight. I'm going to be painting this along at the same time as the Kratos, but we'll focus on the Kratos for the purposes of the video. So, thick line done. Next step, big step, one of my favourite steps actually, although some people might hate it, and that is edge highlighting everything, and that means everything that's blue, everything that's grey, and it all gets edge highlighted with the same colour. And that is the pale grey blue from Vallejo. Really good paint. I love this paint for edge highlighting my Ultramarines. This is my edge colour. So yeah, that'll take me a few days probably. So we're going to edge highlight everything. All right, lovely job. I've done all the edge highlighting. It took me about 3 or 4 hours, I guess. is a lot, but I do like the sort of look that it gives. And I have, you'll note, been wearing a glove for this one. You do handle it quite a lot, and because it's already been given a gloss varnish after the airbrush work, it does come off quite easily. So try to handle as little as you can. Let's just bring the light over so we can get a good look. So you can see on the sides here, I've put the weapons on just to give me an idea of how it's going to look. I really like it with the Volkite actually, so yeah, happy with that. Yeah, you can see we've done the edge highlight on the back on the stacks. The turret I did separately. There you go. Now it's a bit bright at the moment. This will darken up when we get to the oil wash stage. And at this point, you can kind of do things in any order basically, because all we're doing now is picking out detail. I tend to like to put transfers on at this stage so that I can get an idea and a feel of how it's going to be. The other things we've got to do is these mounts here. I'm going to do these bits silver. Obviously we've got the tracks to do silver. There's these bits at the front that I'm going to do, I think, gold. Here. Here the gold, I do the little window parts gold. There's some lenses here. There's obviously a lens here and the part from the melter. There's a lens just here to do. There's a lens here to do. So we're basically just going to, there's a little window here to do and some grey backing there. So the next stage is to pick out detail. What am I going to do? I think I'm going to get some transfers on now. And I know that you should probably do a lot of the detail first, but I like to get some transfers on. I've got a game on Monday and I'll probably be taking this as well. And I don't think I'll be finished by then. So we're going to do some transfers. I've got some nice script ones from the Mighty Brush, which we're going to put on here. I think probably 2 of them, and then 2 Ultramarine symbols here. We'll put a little one on the back. Certainly we'll put something on the side here, I think. I mean, anywhere I can put a transfer, because there's not a great deal of spare space, if I'm absolutely honest. So yeah, that's with the edge highlight done. Let's get some transfers on, and we'll be back with you when we've got those on. All right, so transfers done, and I'm pretty happy with that. Let me move the light. We've got some script on the side here. These are the Mighty Brush transfers. They can be a bit of a pain to put on, but once you get used to it, they're not so bad. It does take a bit of practice. We've gone for some ultramarine like that. And there, and then we put 13 up here, a couple on the back. Just, yeah, looks really nice. Pretty happy with that. The only thing is, I did knock a bit of the grey paint off here when I was doing it. I don't know if it was the microsol that took it off, but it came off like rubber. Probably because it's on a glossy surface, you've got to be careful. So I'm going to touch that up. And then what we're going to do is some lenses. So lenses pretty easy. Paint them all a dark red. I've got Word Bearer's red, but you use whatever. And then do a half moon in the bottom left corner with a mid red. A third of a moon with a mid red. Quarter of a moon with an orange. And then I use icy yellow instead of white to do a little dot in the top right corner. And a tiny little line in the bottom left to make the shine. Put some gloss varnish on and away we go. Pretty straightforward. We're also going to paint this area here. So any windows, there's one here, there's one here. There's some lenses here, lenses up here. We're going to do those. Just going to start adding some colour. To do the grey area, the area here, what I tend to do is get the grey, the light grey, like the pale grey blue, and I add a tiny bit of blue ink just so it's like a lighter colour. And then we're going to do a lighter, very light, what is it, like a watery blue. I use deep sky blue mixed with a tiny bit of grey for that, like very light grey for the window. And we gloss it because then it gives you a little shine. So we do the window here, we'll do the window there. For the edges of the windows, I do them gold because Ultramarines. I think I'm going to paint the front here gold as well. And this bit here gold, and this bit here gold. I'm going to try and find some other gold. I might even paint these gold, to be honest with you, just because gold is obviously a good colour for the Ultras as opposed to the silver. When we've done that, we'll come straight back. We're back. All right, so I've got the tank up on its tracks so that we can see what we've been up to. And I'm just going to zoom this in like this. All right, so you can see we've done some gems here, the red here the red, here the red. And for that we've used, as we say, just dark red, mid red. I actually start with Word Bearers red. Oop, let me zoom back out again. So we got Word Bearers red. And then I use Mephiston. And then I use this AK Intense Deep Red because it's a little more orangey. And then I use an actual orange, which is what, Orange Fire. And then I use Ice Yellow. And all you do is, there we go, you paint it all in the dark red. Let's start, where are we? There, so all in the dark red. Then sort of half with the mid red, a third with the next red down, a little touch of orange in the corner, and then get the yellow. You put a dot in this corner and a little line in the bottom left, and we're away. And actually we do the same with the green. We use sort of greens. Zoom back out. There we go. So dark green, mid green, light green, and I use the same ice yellow for my little lens flare bit. We put some gold in. Now the way I do the gold is I use this tinny tin. Hang on, I need to come back out again. Tinny tin from Vallejo, which it's such a great colour. I bought a few pots of it. It's quite hard, but when you dilute it, it's perfect. So I undercoat with tinny tin and do the edges and stuff. And you can see that when I've painted like the grill, for example, I don't paint into that edge. Same with the windows. Again, we'll zoom in. So we've painted the edges of the window here, and I've also painted the tops gold. You can see just here, and that is just because they are Ultramarines, and a bit of gold sort of matches. It's to match the other tanks that I've painted. So we've painted those in the gold. My actual gold is Vince Venturella gold, as I call it, and that is Vallejo copper, 1 drop, Vallejo bronze or Vallejo gold, 2 drops, and then the magic sauce. This stuff's amazing, by the way. It's Green Stuff World pigment antique gold. Literally, you throw that in any gold and it will make your gold more gold. Simple as that. Just gives it a nice shine. So any gold that you have, if you get this pigment and put it in there, it's going to look better. So it's just a really nice sort of pigment. And then, as we sort of touched, we've done the windows, and I've painted those in a sort of mix of deep sky blue from Vallejo and pale grey blue from Vallejo, and then I just highlighted the corner of it. Quite difficult to see. Let's see. Oh yeah, there you go. So I've just highlighted the little corner there with with pale grey blue. And then I've used a gloss varnish over the top. What is it? We've got our technical art coat from Citadel. That's just in a pot. And that's basically gloss varnish in a pot. Any that you've got. And that's, then paint all the gems with it and the windows. So we've done the gold, we've done the gems, we've done the windows. We've also done the same on the turret. If I can get this. Oh, God. Where are we going? Okay. So we've done the same on the turret here. You can see I've done the square lenses on the top part, and again in the same way, full red, mid red, orange to the corner, and a bit of yellow. Looks nice. Done the little gem down here. Boop. And then I also paint these. I think this looks nice, a little bit of colour here. So we've got these and this and this. Just little spots of light and colour, I think, on a tank, sort of add that little bit of pizzazz to it. So that's the turret looking really good now, and we're almost there basically. So pretty much all I've got left to do is the silvers. So we're going to basically we need a dark silver and a light silver, and for me the silvers are we've got gunmetal, Vallejo metal colour, and aluminium metal colour. Whichever ones you've got, dark silver and light silver. So we're going to paint everything dark silver that we need to, and that will be the tracks. We're going to paint, let's see, where are we? The tracks. Oh, the little gun casings inside. We'll just go over the tank and see what needs to be silver. The smokestacks at the back, they're going to be dark silver. The grills here are going to be silver as well. Probably these boxes, though, don't know, I kind of like them as they are. I'm also wondering whether I paint these little bits gold to match the tank. I think I might. Don't know. And then we've got this to go. So the grill here is going to be silver. Yeah, we're just going to pick out some bits of silver now. And then we're pretty much done. So we're going to pick all out in the gunmetal silver. And then we'll be back. There we go. This is just drying. So I've done the gunmetal grey on the tracks here. And on the smokestacks at the back. On these little grills here. So that was just a little finishing touch. I've also done the silver on the turret. So if we can get that, you can see I've done, let's see. I've done these little boxes at the back, silver. Oh, where's my light? And then this, I've finished painting this top bit silver as well. All right, so we're pretty much done. The next, I'm just going to wait for all this to dry. And then the next step I'm going to take is usually to give it a good gloss varnish coat, because I'm effectively, that's all my painting done. What we've got left is a gloss varnish, an oil wash, and done, basically. So what I'm actually going to do before I do that, I'm going to wait for this to dry, and I'm going to get my edge highlight colour back out, my pale grey blue. I'm going to get a glove on, and I'm going to give the whole tank a once over with the edge highlighting, because you'll notice in some areas, if I just zoom in, if you look here at the front, for example, just here, you can see where my edge lines have got a bit worn by my hands. Let's zoom in again, just get a good bit of detail there. So you can see I've done the tracks, we've got some null oil on there. And yeah, you can see that some of the edge highlight isn't looking as clean anymore. So I'm just going to redo the edge highlight and then give it a gloss varnish, let all that dry, and then we're going to get the oil wash on, clean it up, and we're done. So let me get that dried. Let me get the edge highlight redone. I'll give it a gloss varnish, and we'll come back before doing the oil wash so you know where we're at, and I'll just explain how that works, and that'll be the last stage. This is looking really nice. Pretty happy with the finished result. Here's the top bit so you can get an idea. Yeah, looking nice. Very good. Right, so gloss varnish done. You'll see that it's looking a bit like a boiled sweet. Very glossy. Let's bring the light over. That's pretty much, yeah, you can see that it's just shining off. There's a couple of reasons for the varnish at this stage. One, it helps to seal the transfers in and remove the sort of edge lines. I'll probably put another coat, so you can see there's still an edge line on that one. So I probably will do another gloss coat after the oil wash. But I've also got a game tomorrow against a friend's Knights army. I think 2,000 points we're playing. And obviously I really want the Kratos, so I've been rushing to get the weapons complete. I'm just about to do the melter gun. Let's stick this on here. So here's our gun. Gun, pretty straightforward, silver. I used bronze for this, and then do a little silver highlight. And the grey is just the same grey as the rest of the tank. So dark grey, mid grey, and then a highlight with light grey. I'm about to do the melter effect, and the way I do melter effects is very straightforward and very effective, actually. Here's one from my Predator, which I think looks pretty good. And the way we do that is with inks. I use Vallejo inks. So I start with the yellow, and I do, 2/3 yellow, let it dry, and then red, and I do a little bit less with the red, and then I get the blue, and I do, or purple I think I do first, and then the blue, and then for the final bit on the end I just get some black paint, just plain black matte paint, and I just paint the ends black and put a few flecks of black down the end, and that gives a nice melter effect. So we're going to do the same effect as this on the end of this one, and then we're going to get our list ready because it's 11 o'clock at night and I need to get my list ready for tomorrow because I play at a local club and I'll be working all day. So yeah, boiled sweet, got the tank pretty much finished. The last stage, which I will come back and show you, is the oil wash. I have done oil wash in a few other videos. Lots of YouTubers have got pretty pretty great videos and that, and it's effectively just a black oil paint with a with this Winsor & Newton solvent. You mix them together and make a little wash, and you use it like a pin wash, and then clean it up afterwards. So that'll just darken the tank down and give it that sort of moody Heresy feel. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with that. Better get this Magnum Melter, multi-melter Magnum Melter thingy painted quick, because I have to say I've got a game tomorrow, and I also need to do a quick 2,000 point building your army video, which I'll put up tomorrow, I think. Right, so we've done the oil wash, and I just wanted to give you an idea of how this is looking. So you can see where all the black shadows have been filled in. Now it's pretty messy at this point, although I've not done too bad a job. You can see there's black everywhere. And we've done the turret. See, there we go. So you can see that the oil there, the black sort of liquid, that's the oil wash. And we've just gone around every edge, every little nook and every line, every bit of infill that we can get, and we've blacked it all in. Now what I normally do with an oil wash is I sort of leave it to dry for about maybe 2 to 3 hours, and just as it's drying, that's when I like to get to work and clean it up. And you can do that with your fingers, or you can do it with little cotton buds. So we're going to leave this dry for 2 to 3 hours, and then we're going to come back and I'll do a bit of the cleaning on camera to give you an idea of how it works. And then once we're finished, we'll come back and show you. And then the last steps to finishing will be a layer of gloss varnish and then a layer of matte varnish to bring the shine down, and that should lighten the colour a little bit and just smooth everything over. If you're not varnishing your models, you're missing out on like a layer of finish, really. It will improve your paint job, surprisingly, because it just smooths any blends and any sort of edge highlights out. So we're going to give this 2 to 3 hours, and then we'll come back and I'll show you a bit of the cleanup. Alright, so it's dried a little bit, and what we're going to do now, it's probably still a little bit wet, but I'm just going to give it a quick wipe before I go to bed. And we're just going to, oh, this one's missing a bud, random. We're just going to gently, if you see like here, you can see there's a stain, right, that I don't want. So we're just going to rub that off gently, like that. There we go. I'm just going to clean up these little bits here. It's probably still a little bit wet looking at it. So I'm just going to give it a quick clean up. You're trying to leave the bits in the gaps. See, like here, we just gently take some of the excess off. Alright, so it's very gentle. A lot of the time you can do it with your finger as well, like that, if there's a little stain on top. So that's what we're doing. Sorry, I'm breathing a bit heavy. I've just done my exercises and some stretching. So yeah, we're just cleaning that all off like this and just getting a lot of the excess off. Alright, so yeah, it takes a little while. Take your time, just give it a clean up. It's probably still slightly damp, so I'm going to maybe leave this till the morning once I've taken the worst bits off. But you can see it's just cleaning up that blue nicely, and any overspill or sort of tea staining, the oil's left, we're just cleaning off and wiping up. So I do sometimes use my fingers as well, just to get those last bits off. And yeah, all right, so we're going to do that. It's going to take me maybe 20-30 minutes, and we'll be back with you in the morning or tomorrow evening when it's been cleaned up and it's nice and dry. But you can see it's already giving you that really nicely defined sort of shading between the lines. It really just sort of bring the model to life a little bit, the oil wash. So yeah, a lot of fun. Right, so that's the oil wash done, and the cleanup done, and you can see that Let's get the light over. There we go. You can see where it's sort of left a nice black mark here, some shading around here. If we look at the front, it really brings out those windows and those gems. You can see the little sort of black line around it. It just fills in the edges for you. And it's such a useful tool. The other thing I really like, and if we look at this sort of area at the front, if I can get it in here, even where it's sort of not cleaned off properly, it's just sort of left like a dusty black finish, right? And it just dirties it up a little bit. I realise I don't do sort of the tracks and dirt and all that sort of thing on my tanks. It's just not what I want to do with my Ultramarines. I do feel like the black wash sort of brings out the shade and just gives it a little bit of a dirtier feel. You can see it's brought out the back quite nicely. So what are we going to do now? Oh, and here's the turret. Let's have a look at that. Again, the turret, you can see all the black outlines. It's still got a little bit of drying to do, and it's been left overnight. So we've got a few things to finish. I've got a bit of time off work today, so we're going to crack on. Had a look around the tank, and there's a few bits that I want to do. So these chimney stacks here, I'm going to do a little sort of rusty effect. You can see I've already started, and that was just a skin wash from Vallejo Game Ink. I like my inks for these sort of things. I think I'm going to go skin wash purple and then a little bit of black brushed on top. We're also going to do a little burnished effect on the autocannon here. I've done a red ink. I think I'm going to do red ink, purple ink, and then black. We're going to black out the tip of this to give it a more burnt feel. So that's those done. I've also got to paint another gem on the end of the autocannon, which I hadn't spotted. So we'll get those finished. Obviously, we've covered how I do gems and that sort of thing as we go. So little bits to finish off. It's worth having a good look around the tank. Then what we're going to do is we're going to give it a matte varnish with the airbrush. No, we're going to give it a gloss varnish with the airbrush. Let it dry. And then we're going to give it a matte varnish with the airbrush. Probably 2 thin layers. Just depends how it goes on. And that should just tone down the transfers. It will tone down the shading a little bit, and the sort of it'll tone it all down a little bit. It also tends to brighten and dry out the armor slightly, which I kind of like, and then it'll match my other tanks perfectly, and it kind of takes the shine off these panels, which is great. I don't use a true flat matte or whatever it is. I just use Vallejo's acrylic matte, which I find a really nice finish. Again, through the airbrush. It's kind of the reason I bought it. I did break the magnets off one of these turrets while I was doing it, but hey ho, they fit anyway. I think it's looking really good. I'm really happy with the finished effect. So what we're going to do is finish the ink on the turrets, finish the ink on the autocannon, then black here, and black on there. And that's just a slight finish to sort of dry it off. And then we're going to do the varnish layers as just mentioned. The very last step after the varnish layers is to do a silver highlight. And the reason I'm doing it after the varnish is that I don't want the varnish to sort of dull down the shininess of the silver. So I am going to do sort of highlights on the tracks. Probably the edges of the gold, like an edge highlight on some of the gold areas. We're going to do some sort of shading on the gun barrels. We might do a little sort of edge highlight on these once they're done. We need to just do a little bit of silver on these back things here. On the turret, there's bits of silver to edge highlight here. We're going to bring this out with a bit of silver. We're just going to sort of finish it off. The very last stage will be silver. So, turrets, guns, finish the gem, give it the varnish, do the silver, and I'll be back to show you the finished product. I've done the matte varnish, and just to show you that it isn't a flat matte, it does have a slight shine still to it, but I kind of like that. That's how my other tanks are. And you can see that it's just cleaned the model up, and that is pretty much our finished sort of our completed finish, if you like. Now, a little trick at this stage is go back over the gems, the lights and the windows with a gloss varnish. So just get your gloss varnish from a pot. I've already done this on this one, so you can see the gems are still bright and the windows as well, just to give them a bit of a shine. That's the main tank part and the turret. Again, you can see it's just really flattened the colours out. It's shined up any edges. It's any mistakes kind of, I feel like the varnish just covers those little tiny brush errors and stuff. And I've also revarnished the gems. Super happy with that. Last step is silver. So we're going to put some silver highlights on the gun, I think, just along the area where the light hits it. We've got a little bit of silver to put on here, just some edges and stuff. And then we're going to do the little tiny bit of silver on the tracks. I'm using aluminium from Vallejo for that, by the way. And then a little bit of silver on these back parts here. Maybe I'll just touch up the turrets. They've come out a bit dark, but I don't mind. They're fine. Oh yeah, and I'll put a little bit of silver here just to brighten them up a little bit. So yeah, and that's the last step. I'll be right back when we've done the silver to show you the completed model with all its guns in place. I've only got one bit left to do actually, and I'll do that another day. And that is the massive cannon. I can't think what it's called. I've done the melter. I've done the Volkite. I think it's the Kratos battle cannon, right? So at some point I'll paint that, but for another day. And voila! I am finished. So I've tried to give you a step-by-step process of how I got to this point on the tank, covering all the paints that I use and the sort of system and the way that I do things. I think it's come out looking pretty good. I'm very, very happy with it. Let's have a quick close-up. So we've got the side view on the top. We've got the gems down the front there, if we can see that. And from the other side, yeah, super. Love that. I think that looks fantastic. Step-by-step process for you. Now, obviously, I did cheat a little bit. So if you're interested in the airbrush work, I'll put a little box there for you. And if you would like to subscribe, then please click the button over here somewhere. I do a few build videos, a few paint videos. They're not going to be that common, so you'll probably only get one a month, so nothing too drastic. I'm going to start doing a few tactical videos, a few list building videos, that sort of thing. So thank you. That's Stuart from Shader Heresy out, and that is my how to paint your Kratos to be the best Legion, the Emperor's Legion, the Ultramarines.